round 9 of the Grand Prix series. At night, Dallas is as brash and neon-flooded as Las Vegas, but daybreak reveals the town we know so well from that intrigue-filled series. And just what would the town's most famous husband and wife team make of it all? This is no ordinary street circuit. Dallas is big, and so are its curves and straights. Team managers are expecting a fast race, and practice times have shown they're right. As the drivers sweep past famous Dallas landmarks, it'll be a dream come true for organizer Carroll Shelby.
The whole city is getting behind it. Socially, I think that we're going to have an outstanding event. As far as the circuit's concerned, I think you're going to find it's the finest closed circuit that you'll find anywhere. When you compare Long Beach, Las Vegas, Detroit, Monaco, not to take anything from them, but this is going to be a lot faster circuit, a lot more fast 150-mile-an-hour sweepers. So I think it's going to be much more interesting, not only to the drivers, but to the spectators.
One driver has already found out just how interesting it is. A test run to impress safety officials in one of Clay Regazzoni's old Ferraris was dramatic. And it's an ex-Ferrari driver, Niki Lauda, who could today become the all-time highest point scorer in this, his 150th Grand Prix.
I don't look that old. No, I mean, I don't even know how many Grand Prix I've done. I'm in racing because I really enjoy it, and as long as I enjoy it, I will keep on doing it. The statistics I don't like very much.
But when you started in that March way back in 1971, did you ever envisage that you'd be here, what, 12 seasons later and still at the top?
No, not really, because I don't think you can start motor racing and think that way. I mean, I retired for 2 years, which gave me a very good rest from Formula One, and maybe that's the reason I'm still in it, because if I wouldn't have retired, I for sure would have stopped, because everything has to come to an end one day. But in the moment, because the car is going competitive, I got a very good and nice team, so I do enjoy it like, you know, like in the old days, so I will certainly go on.
The great Niki Lauda, winner of 2 Grand Prix already this year and second in the World Championship, could today become the top point scorer of all time. But Niki's 10.5 points behind his teammate Alain Prost, who's won 3 races and is looking unbeatable, as he did last year. Elio De Angelis is third in his JPS Lotus thanks to points finishes in 7 of this year's 8 races, and Nelson Piquet's fourth, although in danger of losing his Detroit winning points due to controversy over the fuel he used. René Arnoux 5th and Derek Warwick 6th. McLaren continue to dominate the Constructors' Championship with over twice as many points as Ferrari, followed by JPS Lotus, Brabham and Renault. And after practice on the blisteringly hot, bumpy Dallas track, over 140 degrees in the cockpits, the 2 JPS Lotus cars dominate, with Nigel Mansell in his first ever pole position ahead of Elio De Angelis, a superb effort. Then it's Derek Warwick third, 2 Britons in the top 3, Arnoux fourth, Lauda 5th, Ayrton Senna a magnificent 6th, Prost 7th and Rosberg 8th, with Martin Brundle sidelined by a broken ankle after a practice crash and Jonathan Palmer just in at 26th. So, the 2 JPS Lotus cars in the front, Mansell in pole position, Elio De Angelis second. And a good start by Mansell. De Angelis tucks in, Warwick is in third position as they stream away. So it's the 2 British drivers in first and third positions, with Senna fourth, Lauda 5th and Prost in 6th position. So Ayrton Senna made an absolutely magnificent start from 6th position on the grid and has sprinted up in his heart-powered Tolman to 4th position. And he's still there behind Derek Warwick and ahead of the 2 McLarens. Then it is Alboreto behind Prost. Watch for the Ferrari, the Scarlet Ferrari, there it is. And then Patrick Tambay, followed by Eddie Cheever. So lap 1, Mansell, De Angelis, Warwick, Senna, Lauda, Prost, Keke Rosberg, Alboreto and Patrick Tambay. Very, very bumpy, and the man who was in trouble when they got away for the warm-up lap, we have now positively identified as being René Arnoux, who was actually 4th on the grid. So that's a big disadvantage for him, to put it mildly, because it meant, of course, he had to start from the back. He started from the 25th position in this race of 25 drivers. Mansell leads, very bumpy, break up all around the circuit, and Mansell is starting to build a cushion already. We We've had the 8-hour cement down last night in the hope that they could fix the patches, and the 1-hour cement today, and Mansell leads. This is Francois Hainaut, the Frenchman, the Ligier driver, out of the race already before the first lap has even been completed. Senna was up to third and has disappeared, and that must be him spinning back. Ayrton Senna, who had got up to third position with Derek Warwick, out of control, going backwards. Mansell, De Angelis, Warwick. 3 Renault-powered cars in the first 3 places. There is De Angelis, who's finished in the points in 7 out of this year's 8 Grand Prix so far. And Lauda behind in 4th position. Warwick starting to challenge De Angelis for 2nd. And Niki Lauda closing up 2 on... Watch for Lauda. There's Warwick 3rd, behind De Angelis 2nd. Now there is Niki Lauda. You just saw a flash of the red and white Marlboro McLaren. He is in 4th position. His teammate Alain Prost is in 5th place, and in 6th position, and Keke Rosberg is in 5th place. There's Senna coming up through the field again.
Yes, Niki Lauda will be pleased with his start and his opening laps to get work his way up into 4th place. But he was a man who really didn't want to race here. There was a move to boycott the race from quite a number of the drivers, but they were persuaded largely by the constructors themselves rather than the organisers not to do that because of the possibility of any lawsuits and damages if they didn't have a race, of course, which happens in America, because they were so unhappy with the state of the track. And I think the constructors were as well extremely unhappy about the state of the track, but Lauda doesn't like it. Conditions are like that, and he in fact went off twice in practice on Friday, so you can believe when Lauda can go off twice, the conditions are difficult.
Now this is very interesting because Johnny Cecotto there has been holding up but has just been lapped by the race leader Nigel Mansell, number 12 in the JPS Lotus, and the order on lap 4 is Mansell leading, then De Angelis and Warwick absolutely together, and Warwick challenging and going through to 2nd position, and doing so. Derek Warwick on lap 4 moves up to 2nd. In 4th position it is Lauda, in 5th position it is Rosberg, and in 6th position it's Alain Prost, followed by Alboreto 7th.
Well, that was a very good overtaking manoeuvre by Derek Warwick, and you had a very, very good shot, if you watched that, of how hard a man to overtake Elio De Angelis makes himself. He was fair then, but he's kept leaning on Warwick right up until the last minute in the corner, and any sort of doubt that Warwick could have had not had 100% resolve, De Angelis would have kept that place at that particular manoeuvre.
The gap is down to just over 2 seconds now between Mansell and Warwick, and Niki Lauda is climbing up through the field unseen by you. He is up into 3rd position ahead of Elio De Angelis 4th, Keke Rosberg 5th. In 6th position it is Alain Prost. In 7th place it is Patrick Tambay. 8th now is Nelson Piquet. So the men to watch now are Niki Lauda, who is in 3rd place, and Nelson Piquet, who is 8th on lap 8. There's one. Out of the Dallas Grand Prix goes Stefan Bellof on lap 8 out of 68.
And it's a real crowding business now from Derek Warwick. He's putting that front wing right under Nigel's gearbox, and he pulls out, and he's through. He's... Wait! Whoops! Oops! Dear, oh dear. Poor old Derek Warwick, and that's the problem with getting on the marbles.
So Derek Warwick momentarily in the lead on lap 11, spins off. He led in Brazil only to have his suspension break, and he will be kicking himself and cursing himself forevermore after this. It needn't have happened.
And if you look through that complex there, you may have noticed already the track's breaking up really badly. There was a great big pile of marbles, and here we see in replay, but unfortunately we can't control the American director. This isn't the interesting part of the incident. That's when it had all happened. The interesting part was how Warwick got himself on the outside, off the racing line, the back slewed round, and he was out of control, and one little slip like that is very final at a circuit like this in conditions like this. But there was a lovely shot, and I'll point it out again the next time we get a close-up through that chicane. You can really see how the racing line has been gouged up by the tires, and he's just touched the wall. Mansell's wide, and they're beginning to learn, and he looks in trouble because they've caught right up to him as well. The leaders have all concertinaed up together.
And there's going to be a change of leadership here. For the first time, Nigel Mansell is surely going to lose the lead. So it's Mansell leading. De Angelis is second, Lauda is third, and fourth is Keke Rosberg, and you see how close it is. They're concertinaing up.
Nigel Mansell could be a very lucky man. If you hit a wall square on and just brush it, as he did, he didn't hit it very hard, he just gave it a little touch. With the rear tyre, if you hit it square on, the bulge from the tyre acts as a buffer, and you can actually bounce off it from quite a little bounce if you're lucky and not damage anything. And it begins to look as if Nigel Mansell got away with that. Now let's hope, having got away with that, he learns. He really must learn now. He's seen his own mistake at Monte Carlo, he's seen the treacherousness right before his very eyes. He was jolly lucky not to be taken off, to be unluckily taken off by Derek Warwick when things like that happens. And quite honestly, that was really a bad mistake, and he seems to be slowing up.
Lap 13 out of 68 this is, and De Angelis is in second place still, but crowding Mansell. Then it's Lauda third, Rosberg fourth, and Prost fifth, and you can see for yourself how close those 5 cars are on this, the 13th lap. The two JPS Lotus Renaults absolutely together. Niki Lauda closing up, Keke Rosberg still with them, and Prost in Rosberg's wheel tracks in 5th position. So the two JPS Lotuses and the two McLarens are all in the first 5, and Elio De Angelis is really pushing his teammate. You can see that there are absolutely no team orders here.
Yes, I have to say, we've suddenly got a wonderful race. It all looked fairly processional, and nobody was actually climbing all over other people. I mean, it wasn't bad stuff before, but no, we've got 5 cars absolutely climbing over each other. But I'm very worried for the length of time that we're going to be entertained, because to me they all look to be trying far too hard and on the limit for the conditions. De Angelis looks the most potentially impetuous of that group at the moment. I should certainly expect Lauda and Prost to have the experience at least to behave with decorum, but anybody can go off when these conditions get difficult. Well, I hope you'll be looking at the track surface when you get these pictures to see where that's a repaired bit, so-called repaired.
Lap 14 now. Let's take a breath and consider. Nigel Mansell leads. Elio De Angelis there in second position. Niki Lauda in the red and white McLaren is in third place. In fourth position, it is Keke Rosberg. In fifth position, it's Prost. And the track is breaking up. You can see that just there. And De Angelis has another go, and Rosberg is trying to get past Lauda. As James says, this really is turning into a tremendously exciting and competitive Grand Prix. But Nigel Mansell has made an excellent recovery from that rush he had with the concrete walls, and the two JPS Lotuses are pulling away, and Keke Rosberg is up into third position. Now, Rosberg in the rejuvenated Williams with its V6 turbocharged Honda engine has got ahead of Niki Lauda to take third position. Lauda down to fourth.
If I was Prost or Lauda, I would be quite happy with what I was watching going on in front of me, to be sitting where I was for the time being. There's a long, long, long way to go, although the two Lotuses are now spreading out and just pulling out a little bit again. It's odd how they went backwards and then suddenly started to go forwards again. But I would be quite happy. I can't see these people going all the way as the track gets worse. I mean, you can see even on a long shot like this, not here, but on the corners where the wheels have bit into the tarmac, and on tyres rather, and thrown all this dust and slipperiness off to make it really very, very difficult for the drivers. This is definitely an endurance race, or a concentration and care race.
Well, and I'm just hoping that Elio De Angelis, in his agitation to win, doesn't crowd his teammate Nigel Mansell so much that he pushes him off. There has been some rather bad feeling between these two drivers in the recent past, with Nigel Mansell accusing De Angelis of not letting him pass when he could have got past, and there may be a bit of tit-for-tat going on now. Anyway, these two Gerard Ducarou's superbly designed and built cars from Hethel in Norfolk would be making the late Colin Chapman's heart beat faster if he could only see them, because we're seeing here a repetition of the great days of 1978 when Mario Andretti and Ronnie Peterson in the Lotus 79s dominated Grand Prix after Grand Prix, but dominated it in a much more impressive fashion even than this, because Keke Rosberg is not all that far behind. And don't forget that Rosberg, and look, there he is in the yellow and white car, has fought his way up from 8th position on the grid, and he's now in 3rd position on the race, and he's got past from some very notable opposition in the process. He's got past Alain Prost, Senna's dropped back, he's got past Niki Lauda, René Arnoux didn't start properly, of course, and now with another retirement that we've just heard about, Riccardo Patrese. That means to say that Eno, Beloff, Warwick and Patrese are out of the race, and we are on lap 15 with Mansell leading, De Angelis pushing very hard in 2nd position, and there you see them. Keke Rosberg in 3rd place, Lauda 4th, Prost is in 5th position, Patrick Tambay is 6th, Piquet is up to 7th. In 8th position, it is De Cesaris. 9th, it is Alboreto. 10th, it is Fabi. And 11th now is René Arnoux. And look at this as Prost, Lauda and Patrick Tambay is starting to catch the Marlboro McLarens, which are 4th and 5th. There go the first 3. Nigel Mansell keeping his cool, which is absolutely vital in this race, because this is lap 17. And Prost is now up into 4th position, as you saw, ahead of Niki Lauda, who has dropped down to 5th. So the World Championship leader is on his way to 3 more World Championship points if he stays where he is. But there's a long, long way to go for him to do so. But both the Marlboro McLarens, both the JPS Lotuses are still in the top 6. 3rd position, Keke Rosberg. Englishman leads, Italian 2nd, Finnish driver is in 3rd position. Behind Rosberg, then it is the Frenchman Prost, then the Austrian Lauda, then the Frenchman Patrick Tambay, and let us not forget the danger man to all of them, Nelson Piquet, who is now in 7th position. That was Hub Rottengatter, incidentally, that you saw being pushed backwards. That's the Dutch driver in the Spirit Heart car out of the race. And now Manfred Winkelhock in the ATS is about to be engulfed by the flying wedge of Mansell, De Angelis and Rosberg, 1st, 2nd and 3rd on lap 19, ahead of 4th man Prost, 5th man Lauda, 6th man is Patrick Tambay, and 1, 2, 3, they all surge past the brave German.
Yes, and well done Winkelhock. He got out of the way, he spotted them immediately, didn't waste much time himself, and De Angelis is going round the outside, he's trying, ooh, you see, and De Angelis is having an awfully hard go. Of course, again, being one of these tight, twisty, right-angle corners, and as a result of that, Rosberg has got inside Elio De Angelis, and he takes 2nd place, and that will be a great relief in one way to Nigel Mansell, because I'm sure that he'll feel a lot safer being attacked by Rosberg, as far as finishing the race is concerned at least, than he would or does when being attacked by his own teammate De Angelis.
Lap 24, Nigel Mansell, who started in pole position, continues to lead, just ahead of Keke Rosberg, 2nd. Those two are now pulling away from Elio De Angelis, who seems to be losing heart a bit. He's only 3 seconds now ahead of Alain Prost, who is in 4th position. Niki Lauda is still 5th, Tambay is still 6th, Piquet is still in 7th place, and then it's René Arnoux, who started last. And this may be a very perceptive choice of our American producer to show Nelson Piquet, because he started to catch them. And there's Tambay touring, seeming with a wheel off. No wonder he's touring. With Patrick Tambay out of the race on his tricycle Renault is suffering from the problem that's going to affect a lot of people. And Prost is right up now. This is the development of the race. Mansell leads, Rosberg second, De Angelis third, and Alain Prost, the winner of 3 Grand Prix already in this 1984 season, Brazil, San Marino and Monaco, is right up with the first 3. The 2 JPS Lotuses, Williams, and Prost touches the wall. Prost did exactly what Mansell did. Has he got away with it like Mansell? And behind him is still Lauda.
Yes, well, we shall see. It's something you can, if you're lucky, get away with. Just with Mansell, the bulge of the tyre sticks out over the rim of the wheel, and if you don't hit it too hard, and you hit it nicely square on, that's very important, but the loads of the suspension square on, you can bounce off, because the tyre provides a cushion, and no harm done. Concentration required when every time you come to a corner you don't quite know whether it's the same as the last lap, therefore you have to be driving with that little bit in check, and Rosberg having a look at this and snaking, and that is where Derek Warwick fell down, I think. No, it's not. I find the circuit rather difficult to identify places. It all looks a bit the same with the walls round, and it's one thing walking around it and having a look, it's quite another thing to identify it on telly.
And just look at this, the first 4 absolutely together, and the 5th, which is Niki Lauda, closing up. Mansell, Rosberg, De Angelis, Prost, Lauda. This is lap 30, and it must be the half-distance lap.
And this concertinaing that I spoke of, but you'll remember that Lauda and even Prost dropped back quite a way on the leaders, and they are concentrating about all over the place, and this time Rosberg is having a look, but he's forced to go. You see, Mansell is blocking him quite well, and now I think heavy blocking tactics are quite right for Mansell, but it's going to be just a huge test on his concentration to keep going on, because apart from anything else, when you're blocking this badly, there comes a point, if you're human, I certainly used to it, when you actually begin to feel embarrassed about it.
Prost is now in 3rd position. He has got past Elio De Angelis, who I suspect to be tiring. Nigel Mansell leading. So it's JPS Lotus, Williams, McLaren, JPS Lotus and McLaren in the first 5 places still. Mansell, Rosberg, there are the first 2. Prost now, having got past De Angelis, 3rd and 4th. Watch for the red and white McLaren of Lauda, who is 5th, and Prost now comes right up to Keke Rosberg. 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th together. This is lap 31. And it's still Mansell, Rosberg, 1st and 2nd. Prost is 3rd. De Angelis is dropping back, and Lauda is gaining on De Angelis, 5th.
And there was a puff of smoke there from Mansell's car, whether that was a locked brake or whether it was something mechanical, some oil getting out. Now Prost's having a look at the pair of them, and he's going to get inside Rosberg. So Prost, from, as it were, nowhere, suddenly we had Rosberg virtually in the lead, and now he's down to 3rd place. This is an absolutely superb race.
What an incredible man this 29-year-old Alain Prost is. Look at him swarming all over Nigel Mansell's gearbox. He's already won 3 Grand Prix, Prost, leading the World Championship by a very substantial margin of 10.5 points from his teammate Niki Lauda, and bidding fair to go through and win this one. Over half distance now. It's Prost 2nd, Rosberg 3rd, De Angelis 4th, Lauda 5th, the 2 McLarens, the 2 JPS Renaults, all in the first 5, and there is the Williams of Rosberg now in 3rd position.
Goodness me, I should think Nigel Mansell must be absolutely mesmerised in there. His eye muscles will be exhausted by the end of the race. I wonder if he's had time to look where he's going. There's so much excitement going on behind him in his mirror, and different people arriving. He must be beginning to wonder if he's actually seeing things or whether he's hallucinating. He's had so many different coloured noses to look at, and all rather closely. And Prost now having a little look, but that's actually been forgiven a couple of times by the short straights when he's made little slips in the lead, and then the straights are so short that the following driver hasn't got time to get right clear. He can only get alongside.
Keke Rosberg now goes through. There he is, Keke Rosberg back into 2nd place, having retaken Alain Prost.
Yes, and the way Rosberg went straight past Prost then, I can only suppose that he got a little bit off line, because when you do, you have to slow right down, and of course you can't put any power on, and that's why Rosberg suddenly just appeared to walk past him.
This race is turning out to be the most competitive Grand Prix we've had in 1984, because we've certainly not had 5 cars up front as close to each other as this in the previous 8 events. Rosberg now, this is where he's tried before and failed, because Mansell always moves just a little bit out to the left, which obliges Keke Rosberg to take the lesser alternative of backing off as opposed to driving into the concrete wall, which he's not about to do. But he tries again. Now he's through. Keke Rosberg leads on lap 36 in the Dallas Grand Prix. This incredible man who started 8th on the grid, and by sheer guts and determination and incredible reflexes has fought his way through past everybody, and Nigel Mansell tries it, and he's lost his momentum, and he's going to lose second place to Prost if he's not very careful indeed, and that has given Rosberg the opportunity to pull out of it.
It's absolutely fantastic stuff. Mansell, as soon as he was overtaken, went straight into positive gear and was trying to get right back past Rosberg, but I think he's going to have to go a bit to stay with Rosberg, and I have a bit of a feeling that Prost might, if Rosberg can get away, Prost might be the man to do the chasing. I would hate for Rosberg to be spoiling the party, as I fear he might, spoiling the party by dashing off and going too fast for everybody else.
I don't think Keke will see it quite like that, but nevertheless he's away now.
Of course, no offence to Keke at all. I speak only as for myself, which of course is as an entertainment-seeking viewer, and we all, I think, like to see close racing. But of course, if you're out there, the last thing you want is close racing. If you're in the lead, you want a nice big fat lead that you can maintain, not even trying for that out. But certainly, Keke was trying for that terrific shot of the back, flicking out there, and he was straight onto the opposite lot and caught it without even having to lift his foot, you see, which is what driving in these conditions, driving at all times, is all about. But I see Prost's nose appear first out from the pursuers, and so can he do anything about it? Because at the moment, Keke is rather streaking away.
Rosberg leads then. Prost in second position. Third position is De Angelis, fourth is Lauda, and down to fifth position has gone Nigel Mansell, ahead of sixth position man Nelson Piquet, and that leads me to believe that Nigel Mansell may be suffering from the delayed effect, or a delayed effect, of that brush with the wall. And the bad news is there for British enthusiast Nigel Mansell again in the pits, and having a tyre change, obviously. Steve Hallam, his team engineer, watching over the proceedings, as is Peter Waugh, and out goes Mansell, but his chances of victory are totally destroyed now. And Lauda is ahead of De Angelis. There is the Austrian, there is the Italian. They cross the line, and now it is Rosberg. Prost second, Niki Lauda there is in third position, fourth is De Angelis. Up into fifth position has gone René Arnoux in the Ferrari, who has passed Nelson Piquet, who is down to sixth. In seventh position, back on his new race rubber, is Nigel Mansell. And René Arnoux, number 28, in fifth position, has caught Elio De Angelis, who is consistently slipping down the field. Second place for so long, and I think he's about to be taken by René Arnoux, an Italian in a British-French designed car, being pursued by a Frenchman in a very Italian, the most Italian of motor cars, Ferrari. Piquet, Nelson Piquet, with a newly painted crash helmet, out of the event, and Piquet was in sixth position, no point. And Alain Prost on the far side of the circuit has taken the lead in the Dallas Grand Prix, having come up from seventh position on the grid and he's now looking as though he could win his 4th Grand Prix of 1984, having won in Brazil, in San Marino, at Monaco. He finished 2nd in South Africa, 3rd in Canada, 5th in Detroit, and he was out of the points only just in France when he finished in 7th position. And only in one race has this man, number 7, Alain Prost, failed to finish, and that was in Belgium.
What was that? Oh, that was Arnoux going past Lauda.
Yes, René Arnoux is amazing this season. He starts badly and charges like mad in the race and really makes his mark in the closing stages of it. Well, he's certainly doing so in this one, because the little Frenchman, as he's inevitably called, with the bird-like eyes, is now up into 3rd position. It's now in the lead Prost, in 2nd place Rosberg, in 3rd position Arnoux, in 4th position Niki Lauda, and some native instinct tells me that there's going to be some changes before this race finishes. Nigel Mansell is being caught there by Arnoux in the Ferrari, who surges past. Arnoux's really got the bit between his teeth now.
And there is Alboreto with his right rear wheel all askew, so one has to assume that he has also fallen foul of the wall at the same place that Patrick Tambay did.
Race leader Alain Prost, lap 56. How far is the race going? I think 62 laps. But I fear that we are not going to know until we see the checkered flag being readied at the end of 2 hours, because it's going to be a 2-hour race rather than originally intended as 7. And Prost has got a puncture on lap 56. Alain Prost goes out of the race and Keke Rosberg retakes the lead. What an incredible development. Prost's right front, whether it's tyre wear or he's hit the wall, I don't know, but anyway, he's lost the lead to Rosberg.
I think he must have hit the wall or damaged the car, Murray, because otherwise, if it was just a puncture, I'm sure he would have soldiered on round to the pits, got it changed, and could possibly just about have made it to the points. There would be more retirements before the end.
That means, of course, that Nigel Mansell is back in the points, because it is now Rosberg leading, and Mark Surer is in trouble. That's another retirement.
Yes, very terminal, that trouble looked, and that also was a damaged car. He looked as if he'd hit the wall, his wheel off, and they're all part of the sort of car park that.
This is lap 58. The race order now is Keke Rosberg stroking it home to victory. In 2nd place, number 28 there in the Scarlet Ferrari, René Arnoux. In 3rd place and on course to achieve the greatest number of World Championship points of all time, Niki Lauda, and to close the gap between himself and World Championship leader Alain Prost. 4th is Elio De Angelis. In 5th position it is now Jacques Lafitte, and back in the points has come Nigel Mansell. So this is a good race up to now for the Williams Honda team, because their men Rosberg and Lafitte are respectively 1st and 5th. And Lauda, that is Lauda joining the dead car park. So both McLarens out now. Prost is not going to see the gap between himself and his teammate Niki Lauda narrowing. That means to say that up into 3rd position now, behind René Arnoux and Keke Rosberg, will come Elio De Angelis. In 4th position now and lapped, Jacques Lafitte. In 5th position and lapped, of course, Nigel Mansell. And in 6th position, it's Pier Carlo Ghinzani. And are we seeing a collection of reliable runners on the circuit? I am mindful of the fact that the fuel consumption bogey could still strike. Indeed, that may be what has happened to Niki Lauda, because his car looks all right to me. And we're going to a 2-hour race on a circuit where there's an enormous amount of braking and acceleration. And it could therefore be that Niki Lauda has run out of fuel. There is Michele Alboreto walking back from the dead car park, and it's interesting that all the cars are pulling off in exactly the same point. And this is the last lap by Keke Rosberg and I should think a driver will never have been happier to stop his car and get out of it than will Keke Rosberg at this Dallas Grand Prix, the closeness of which certainly in the 1/3 to 2/3 stages has far exceeded anybody's hopes and expectations, and Rosberg really slowing right down now. Not a sign of René Arnoux in second place, the only man still on the same lap as Keke Rosberg, with third and fourth De Angelis and Lafitte 1 lap behind, fifth and sixth Mansell and Boot and Ghinzani 2 laps behind, followed by Theo Fabi. His teammate Nelson Piquet out of the race, as are Lauda, Sura, Prost, Alboreto, Palmer, Tombé, Rotengata, De Cesaris, Patrese, Warwick, Beloff, Eno and Alliot, who actually even failed to start. The last few corners for Keke Rosberg to make it as he goes past Derek Warwick's car, lodged in the tyres. His third Grand Prix win in 75 races, to give him 9 World Championship points, to add to the 11 that he already has, to give him 20 altogether.
And those 9 points will do a power of good to his championship chances. So now, watch Keke Rosberg and watch for the flag. And there it is after 66 grueling laps. Well done, Keke Rosberg, whose fighting drive has lifted him to 5th place in the championship with 7 races still to go. But right at the end, Nigel Mansell's pushing in this searing heat, and surely that's too much even for him. And it is. He's fainted, and past him to 5th place goes Ghinzani in the Osella. So, victory in the first Dallas Grand Prix to Keke Rosberg, with Arnoux 2nd, De Angelis 3rd, Lafitte 4th, Ghinzani 5th and Mansell 6th. Alain Prost still leads the Drivers' Championship ahead of Lauda, with De Angelis 3rd, Arnoux up to 4th, Rosberg to 5th and Piquet down to 6th. Ferrari have reduced McLaren's massive lead in the Constructors' Championship, with JPS a close 3rd and Williams up to 4th. And thankfully Nigel Mansell seems to be okay after a brave and determined effort to finish 6th, and in good shape for the John Player British Grand Prix in 2 weeks' time at Brands Hatch, the highlight of the motor racing season for British fans. Together with the organisers of the race, we're running a competition, the winner of which will receive tickets for race day, grandstand seats and VIP treatment. A trip around the Grand Prix circuit in a Thundersport Chevron with the legendary Sir Jack Brabham at the wheel. The chance at a later date to take part in the Brands Hatch Skid Pan course, and 10 lessons at the Brands Hatch Racing School. All you have to do is watch and listen to the clips coming up now and get your answers off to us as quickly as you can. There is the checkered flag. Michele Alboreto from Milan, Italy, in the Benetton Tyrrell has won here at Detroit. Question number 1 is, what was the significance of that win as far as the engine of Alboreto's car was concerned? Question number 2 is quite simply, where is this track? The European Grand Prix at Brands Hatch last year, and Derek Warwick in trouble in his Toleman. The last question is, what was wrong with the car? Answers please on a postcard with your name and address on the left-hand side and your answers on the right. And the address to send your postcard to is Grand Prix Competition, BBC TV, Wood Lane, London W12 8QT. There'll be more opportunities to see the questions on Breakfast Time and next week's grandstand programmes. Answers must be with us by Thursday, July the 19th. The result of the competition will be announced in grandstand on Saturday, July the 21st. But it was Keke Rosberg who was today's hero at Dallas. And who better to present him with the winner's garland than Sue Ellen herself.